accept last minutes from last month. Anybody see anything that's out of order that needs to be changed? I didn't see anything.
Stand as approved.
Stand as approved.
For both.
Yep. And then bills. Anybody have any questions on anything there? So obviously, our wheel was not just a tire fell off our mower. It's more.
Yeah.
It actually fell off. Yeah. Yep. I questioned Garrett on that too, because when he called me, he goes, yeah, I'm going out to check the mower and the tire fell off. And I said, did you say the tire fell off? He goes, yes, it is off. So,
Yeah, it wasn't drivable. They had to lift it off the trailer.
yeah, so that makes sense.
I just had a question about the magazine with the bin article. They charged us for those magazines?
Yes, Shimmer asked that we buy extra to be able to hand them out. So we bought some extras and took them to the board meeting, gave them to the supervisors, and then put them out here at the center.
That was a cruising.
Oh, no, they're not.
Okay, and then washer and dryer for Bell Creek.
Yes. Lucinda needed a new one. She washes the mattress covers ever so often
Okay.
with it.
There's not washer and dryers in both cabins.
No, this is a stackable pair that I believe is in the bathroom area.
Okay.
Somewhere, like, I think there's a
There's a locked door there.
storage in between the bathrooms, and we keep them in there. And she's done laundry for 5 lab.
Okay.
Yep.
I was hoping there wasn't one in each.
No, there's none in the
None.
cabins. It's just for the hosts to
Yep.
use for our things.
All right. If there's no more questions, we need a motion to approve bills.
I moved it for the bills.
All those in favor? No. All right. No, I'm sorry, Josh.
Thank you. What I'm going to present today is
You
probably,
can have a seat if you want to.
it's probably a couple weeks late. But I think it needs to be said, and I think that that you guys can still do something with this. So I'm just going to read it because I think I have it figured out better if I say it. I'll introduce myself. I'm Joshua Haack. I live in Primgar, born around Primgar. I have a Master of Business Administration with coursework in organizational behavior. And I've rewatched the videos and I've reread the newspaper articles and organizational climate and organizational culture keeps coming up. And I have some history with that, and I thought I could share that. I spent over 24 years serving the public in the United States Air Force. 7 of those years were in an organization with a dangerous and unhealthy culture. One where, while our service's primary core value is integrity first, it was impossible to succeed in this organization without lying. I was a part of a team that responded to the nuclear missile cheating scandal at Malmstrom Air Force Base in 2014. You guys might remember that. It was national headlines. I was part of the higher headquarters team that realized how poisonous the culture at Malmstrom was and that it was shared among all 3 missile bases. They initiated the process of change. The organization I was a part of has been able to reverse that culture. It wasn't overnight. It took several years, and it wasn't without a lot of pain. People tend to have pride in the organization they belong to, and they start to believe that the culture or the climate is a part of them or a reflection of them. I sternly argue against that. In the organization I was a part of, I was surrounded by morally sound, ethically strong, fine men and women. An organization is its own entity. Leaders can make positive effects on organization culture, but it takes time, commitment, and deliberate actions. So be deliberate in this that we're going to do. Brian Shimmer is a friend of mine, one of the best men I know. We served on the fire department together. We served on consistory together. We went on down to Haiti together. I'm I'm saddened by the events of the past couple of weeks. Denise Stephan is a friend of mine, one of the best women I know. I'm saddened at the way she's been treated through all of this. I respect the county supervisors, I respect the board members here. I earnestly believe that you and they and we are all public servants and are interested in serving the public to the best of our abilities. As painful as I followed this story closely, since I first read the headline in the September 17 paper, Conservation Board meeting show of strength with a question mark, and into the current situation with the resignation of Brian Schimmer and the park rangers, I've heard repeatedly throughout this time period that the culture of the O'Brien County Conservation is problematic at best. Still, at the county supervisor meeting on May 25th, Kathy stated, prior to last year at this time, there were no complaints until we had the resignation of our naturalist. Also at that same meeting, one of the rangers asserted that he wasn't aware what the complaints were, that the county supervisors wanted rectified. At the same time saying all he's ever heard is negative. I'm not trying to point fingers at individuals. This isn't an individual problem. This is a culture problem. I'm trying to point out how hard it is and how hard it has been to identify the problem when you're right in the middle of it. So that's why I'm here, taking up your time. In correcting the culture at the nuclear missile bases, the specific problem needed to be identified and then a deliberate plan needed to be implemented. I'm going to assert that the primary issue O'Brien County Conservation culture has is that it doesn't allow or it doesn't promote addressing missteps and bad judgment decisions. The culture doesn't encourage truth-seeking, another way of putting that, and therefore behavior correction. This enables a culture whose norms permit intimidation and all kinds of other ugliness and against those that it's supposed to be serving. I've read over and over and listened repeatedly as folks voiced that they felt intimidated in the September meeting. I haven't read that you as a board ever took this seriously or addressed it at all. This is the public you're supposed to be serving, not intimidating, whether intentionally or not. May I ask if any of you know who directed the park rangers to wear their uniforms and stand armed at the doors at that September meeting? Do you know who directed that?
They were here at the request of the director.
But to wear their uniforms and stand at the doors?
There was one ranger sitting over there. I don't even remember who was here.
There was somebody over there.
There was somebody over here.
There was somebody at every door, every exit.
So, and this point has been brought up. The last meeting where I watched that video twice now on the county supervisor meeting, and it was another main point of contention. And that's what I want you guys to ask. And now it's too late because all those people are gone, and the answer probably doesn't matter.
I did ask,
Okay, what did you get?
and I got the fact that there was some issues before that meeting that they were concerned about in terms of people coming to this meeting, and because of the culture that's out here, not out here, but that in the world as we speak now, which you lived in too, that they were concerned that some things perhaps might go on, and so they were here to kind of take care of that particular issue. And I did not feel intimidated. I was surprised that they were in uniform, but I was not intimidated by the fact that they were here. I understand there were some people that were, but that was not what the intention was to be. But it was also to be the fact that there were some other things that had happened that they weren't concerned about that may have and were going to be prepared for.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
What were those things that happened?
I did not get a detailed report on that in terms of what that major concern was. But when I asked the question, that's the answer that I got.
But so then it was out of fear.
Pardon?
It was out of fear that there was going to be.
I don't think it was out of
something
fear,
that
but maybe out of concern about what may or may not take place, that they were going to be prepared for something. But I did not get a detailed report as to exactly what it was going to be. I mean, that was the answer that I got.
So, but what the public received from what happened was, that's why I'm here, that's why I followed this story. Is when I read that headline, I was like, show of force, I know that term, I was in the military, what is this about? And so, I've been thinking about that, and a show of force in the Persian Gulf can look many different ways. And we maybe tried to do a show of force, and the Iranians didn't acknowledge that as a show of force. And then maybe we tried to just do something, and they acknowledged that as a show of force. And so we probably, as a board, should acknowledge that people were intimidated and that the public felt that this was wrong. And whether there is an apology, whether there is an explanation, whether it can go away now because everybody that had anything to do with that decision is gone. But the culture of asking the question and not reporting back to the public, I think that needs to change. I think that, hey public, this is what happened, this is why it happened, we're sorry or we're not sorry, or whatever it is. But for 6 months that answer hasn't been provided, I don't think, you know?
Where would you report that to? And
Just-
how would you report that?
Well, what I would do is if Brian Chimmer or Terry is sitting in the meeting, say why? Why are they in uniform? Brian, answer me. And let them tell the story. You know, and then it's reported, then it's out there. But from what I've read is, yeah, the communication, it's hard. I'm going to keep going because I think I have it more eloquently put in here. Have you considered why you haven't, well, you did ask a question, so I get it. I urge you to attack this norm head on. You guys are the only folks in a position to ask this question, demand the answer, and make corrective actions in the organization. When the naturalist quit her job after having her hours slashed and her office moved, we didn't see the board searching for answers the same way the public has been. This is another example, to me, of a culture that doesn't encourage truth-seeking. I encourage you guys to challenge this norm again, to recognize when you feel uncomfortable by someone's question, and instead of backing away from it, own that question yourself. Like when Denise asked, why did they cut her hours?
Her hours weren't cut.
Or
salary.
so whatever it was, why? You see what's going on here, right?
Yes, and for some things,
I mean, Sherry-
you being in business, you understand that we can't disclose everything.
But I will
because-
ask you, was Charlene given an opportunity to speak?
I'm going to stop though, because
Okay, sorry.
I want to be on culture.
Yep.
And this is good.
Yep.
Because I don't care. I don't care. What I care about is you asking the question and letting people know. Like you telling me an answer is the public seeing you still trying to justify that action. And the public doesn't want you to try to explain away and try to defend a bad decision. There was a bad decision that was made, the public was outraged by it. Apology probably needs to happen, or a better explanation of why, instead of a defense that continues to appear poor, if that makes sense.
Right, but I'm not sure your current occupation or where you are with employees or no employees. If you have a problem internally with an employee, do you address that with your employee or do you make that a public display?
Okay,
That's where we're at, because
right, so
we can-
this is my understanding. If I have an employee that's working for me and I'm not satisfied with their work, then I will write them up. I will document that I'm not satisfied. I'll give them a chance to change. I will document again, and then I will fire them. If I change the way that I treat them, and I move them to the basement, and I do this is hostile work environment.
if-
That is illegal. If I start treating somebody differently because I don't like them, and then they quit, that is illegal. So, yeah, if there's somebody that works for me that I don't want to work for me anymore, I need to document what they're doing wrong, and then I can let them go.
well, there's two of us here, unfortunately not four,
Yes.
who were there. We did not want Charlene to go. We made that abundantly clear, and you can put things in people's files as much as you want, but if it's just a piece of paper, that doesn't really do anything other than make a file fatter. I mean, we expressed that over and over through that meeting with her. We don't want to see you go. And I still stand by the fact, and I told her, I was like, when it comes to programming, she's arguably still one of the best. But that's not just what a job is. So, and I told her that, I said that in the supervisor meeting. The entire board made it very clear, we want her to stay.
Okay. Okay, so maybe I'm off on this one. Maybe. All right, second issue I've observed is the board has a difficult time responding to requests for change and transitioning to serve new customers. The board serves hunters very well and has historically responded poorly to requests from the general public, and I say historically, but in the last 6 months, and this is just my perception. Change is very hard. We are counting on you as leaders and public servants to lead this organization through change. Leading in a time of change requires excellent communication skills. This board must be working and communicating as a team in order to recover from the travesty of last month. After the nuclear missile cheating scandal, we had our casualties too. A good friend of mine was among several leaders who were removed from their leadership positions because they couldn't get on board with the new way of doing business. We've had our casualties here as well. It seems to me the director and the rangers made a rash decision when they weren't able to select who they were going to answer to. Never have I been able to select my own boss, and that's probably true about everybody else in this room. But something in their culture thought that they should be enabled to do that. I believe that this board had been functioning as a team and leading through change, reassuring your subordinates, communicating that everything was going to be okay, those folks wouldn't have resigned. I don't blame you guys at all. Again, the culture of an organization is its own entity, and it takes a lot of effort to control that and to lead through that and be in that. The culture of this board has been one that resists change instead of embracing it. This must be corrected. The County Board of Supervisors, in response to public outcry, demanded. The entire horse conversation was, I own a horse, I hunt. I've never rode a horse on public property in O'Brien County. I've never hunted on public property in O'Brien County. The entire horse conversation was and still is an opportunity for you to show the County Board of Supervisors that you understand the problem and you're taking it seriously. When the public makes it a priority to come to a meeting and voice concerns, you should say things like, great idea, I didn't know we had anybody interested in that, let's look into that. You guys have made positive gains in this area, and I've read that through the papers in the last 6 months as that's come. Keep shooting for that positivity when faced with change. Keep doing that. Change is difficult. Leaders are in place to help team members through change, so that is your role and is the director's role. So hire a director that has some change in their pedigree. I'd like to reiterate that while it may seem I'm addressing one or more of you on the board, I am addressing the culture of this board, a culture which belongs to none of you and also to all of you. A culture none of you can explicitly control, but all of you can affect positively. I encourage you to buck the norms and publicly demand answers to hard questions and change the culture to one where it's encouraged to seek out the truth, one where it's encouraged to reply to any and all public requests positively and put an earnest effort into finding solutions, one where open communication is encouraged and rewarded, ask the hard questions, tackle the culture problems head on. When you catch yourself or peer responding negatively to a change request, acknowledge it. Just say it openly and hey, this culture is not allowing me to say what I want to say right now. I have something that I want to say and I don't feel comfortable saying it. Say that out loud and acknowledge that there is a culture in this room that needs to change. Create a culture among these new hires of integrity, hard work, and public service through open and honest communication. That's what I had prepared. Do you guys have any questions, other comments? No? I really do respect you guys. I think this is a very hard job.
It's been very hard.
Yes.
And I think Sherry also brought up the fact is that because there were issues in personnel files that we could not relate to the public was not going to accept that fact.
Yeah.
And so therefore, when you don't accept those things, there's not anything else we can say other than this is the way it was and this is how we handled it. And I'm sorry that you're not agreeing with it, but this is what actually happened. And there's nothing else we
So,
can say.
I guess with the naturalist, when she quit,
Let's not relive it.
yeah,
Let's not relive it. It was not good.
Well, we want to thank you for coming, but from this point forward, we need to move on positively and go the right direction as a team, period.
absolutely,
That's what needs to happen.
absolutely.
And we appreciate what you said wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Eileen, do you have anything on that, Amber?
Okay, so the last I knew,